Are you always tired?
And you're secretly plotting that one-way ticket to the Dominican Republic so you can work at that little coffee shop you visited on that cruise, and then you're going to change your phone number?
Well, you might be experiencing burnout. Today we will be discussing wisdom in avoiding burnout. Stick around, you don't want to miss this. This episode should not be used as a substitute for medical or mental health advice. Individuals are advised to seek independent medical advice, counseling, and/or therapy from a healthcare professional with respect to any medical condition, mental health issue, or health inquiry, including matters discussed on this episode.
Hey, good people.
Hey, y'all.
It is Wisdom Wednesday. Welcome again to another episode. We want to thank our faithful watchers. You have been with us. You've watched us grow into this thing that we're doing, and it is evolving and it's becoming. And as you've been with us, we have grown an affinity for you, and you are in our hearts. So we were thinking about you. Yes, we're thankful for the support. And we come every week with new content. We get together and we think, what would be beneficial? You know, and so today we're going to be talking about avoiding burnout.
All things avoiding burnout.
All things.
Wisdom related to avoiding burnout.
So we got some wisdom tonight. That make no mistake. We have listened to ourselves. We have tried to apply in this last week ourselves, and we'll continue to on this journey with you. And so I am Dr. Lakeba Williams, and this is Fresh Hope Today.
I am Lauren Williams. I am a licensed associate professional counselor, and we are super excited to bring this to you today.
As counselors, a lot of our clients are dealing with burnout. They're tired because life be lifing, y'all know that. And when it does, and life just does what it does, we can get overwhelmed. And so today we want to talk about, well, how do we avoid burnout? And so the way that we're going to do that is we're going to lay it out just like we do every episode. So if you're thinking about somebody that you know is tired, you see them, they got them bags under your eyes. Y'all see my face, I ain't got no bags because I ain't worrying about nothing. I'm just saying. And I don't have no makeup on, just some lipstick today, y'all, because I'm not playing with these people. But I'm not.
Wait, get in the camera, let them see. Some people may not believe it.
I'm serious. I'm serious. To God be the glory. Amen.
Amen.
The thing is, to avoid burnout, there are things that we need to do in all seriousness. And so what we're going to do is we're going to lay it out with, first we're going to come with the knowledge. What is burnout, right? What are the causes, the symptoms of it? And then we're going to transition to the understanding portion of it. So what does that look like in our everyday life? Like how does burnout show how does it show up for you? How does it show up for me? And then how does it show up for you? We want you to be thinking about that. And then last but most definitely not least, we'll be talking about wisdom. Like what is the wisdom? How do we use the knowledge? And get the understanding and then apply it for wisdom to avoid the burnout. Well, we're going to be talking about that today. So, Lauren, why don't you kick some knowledge to us?
That was a great introduction.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So just like Mom said, we're going to be starting off with the knowledge. So what is burnout? I mean, what comes to mind for you when you think about burnout? For me, it's like the last flicker of the candle, the wick of the candle. You know, when you can tell it's about to go out and the candle's just
smoky.
It's
kind of smoky. It don't even smell.
It don't even smell like the candle. Absolutely. That's what I think about with burnout. Just done, complete, finished. Definitely hard to recover from. What about you?
When I think about burnout, I think about, when you're money funny and you look at the gas tank and it's telling you your gas is low. And your car start to and you just on a wing and a prayer and you hoping you can get to Costco for the cheapest gas in your city.
Absolutely.
And that anxiety hits you like that. That's burnout, right?
That's good.
It's that feeling of I'm on fumes. I don't have it to give. If I don't get somewhere and sit down, I'm just going to run out of gas. That's burnout. That's what comes to mind.
And hopefully I can get somewhere that's safe. Right?
For real.
All right. Well, we'll talk about the definition. So what is burnout, you guys? physical, emotional, or mental exhaustion accompanied by decreased motivation, lowered performance, and negative attitudes towards oneself and others. All right.
Can you read that again?
I can. That's
a
good.
Great definition. So that's the definition from the American Psychological Association.
Yeah,
for
APA.
Burnout. Yeah.
Physical, emotional, or mental exhaustion accompanied by decreased motivation, lowered performance, and negative attitudes towards oneself or others. So I think a lot of times when we conceptualize burnout, we think about just the inability to continue to go on. But this definition from APA tells us that it's so much more than that.
Yes.
Not only is it physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion, it's also decreased motivation to do just about anything. That includes things we want to do, goals, aspirations, as well as things that we need to do, right? Things that are important for the upkeep of our daily lives. It becomes really hard. Lowered performance. So what you are expected to do, whether it's the roles that you play in your family, relationally, or the roles that you occupy at work that are important to you, lowered performance, because like you said earlier, Mom, you don't have much to give. And then finally, the negative attitudes towards yourself. We'll talk about this in another episode, but what comes to mind for me is cognitive behavioral therapy. We call it CBT. There is the CBT triangle: thoughts plus behaviors equal your actions. Your actions reinforce those thoughts. It's just kind of like a cycle that continues to go.
Yeah, those thoughts lead to the feelings of being overwhelmed.
Right.
And then the feelings lead to the behavior of what? Withdrawing.
Decreased motivation. Yeah.
Staying in the bed and hitting the snooze.
And the outcome of that is typically negative, right? Which reinforces those thoughts. And so it's really important to understand this definition so that we can really get a hold of what's happening. We live in a society, in a world where we go really, really fast. We do a lot of things. We take on a lot of roles. But if we're not careful, some of those things can really start to affect us, affect us personally, and then finally, the way that we feel towards other people. I'm so overwhelmed. I mean, what's coming to mind for me is, your kid comes to just ask you a simple question. And
Mommy.
I can't do it right now. They're like, hey, Jesus, Lord.
Well, let me figure it out.
Yeah, and she's not approachable.
Right.
Which you never want your kid to think you're not approachable, or your partner, or your friend, or just the random person at the grocery store that you go off of because they take your cart. Whatever. We're on short fumes when we're experiencing burnout. Which all of this really, we could put it all in one pot of decreased quality of life, right? When we don't monitor our burnout, when we aren't able to avoid, or we're not making the decisions to avoid burnout, the quality of our life goes down. So we wanted to start off, as we always do, with knowledge surrounding burnout, what it is, what it looks like. Mom, I'll let you kind of take over what causes burnout.
All right. I'm happy to do it. You all, if you're sitting out there and you've been on a PIP, if at work you've been on a performance improvement plan, and you're just wondering, like, wow, these people are giving me smoke for not, being 100%, for not turning in whatever, or not getting, this form in, or this presentation wasn't what they expected. But they don't even have a clue, as to what you're dealing with, right? And so there is a place that we can pay attention to that before it even gets to that. And so that's why we entitled this particular episode Avoiding Burnout. So you can start to look at the things that cause it, right? So you'll have an understanding of what causes burnout. So the knowledge, right, is performing at a high level until stress and tension, especially from this extreme and prolonged physical or mental exertion, and or an overburdening workload, kind of take their toll. So really the ruse behind it all is this perfectionism. That this perfectionism is the ruse behind it all. It's us operating at this high level. And I know you're on this call because you want to be excellent about what you do, and so do we. And so what we do is we just push ourselves and we push ourselves, and then we're not vulnerable with other people, as if to say, hey, I'm kind of overwhelmed with this. Do you think you could take this portion of this presentation? Lauren and I work really closely together. And we're just close, right? And Caitlin as well. Like when we get together, we can all say, you know what? I'm not able to do this. But I can do that.
Caitlin's really good about that.
Yes, got to set them boundaries. Now, if you missed that boundary, it was part 1 and part 2 for a reason. Go on and go and check that out too, because a lot of times that perfectionism comes up and we want to just do it just so. But that high level, performing at that high level until the stress and the tension kind of set in, especially when it's been that extreme and prolonged physical or mental exertion. I'm putting out, and then the folks are overburdening me with the workload. I, right now with my clients from every industry, and I work with clients from different industries, I am hearing my clients talk about layoffs in every industry. And so exactly. And so what that equates itself to is if you stay, your workload is going to be
and
increased.
You have to be performing at a high level.
Yes, because
right?
more is on your plate, more is expected. And then you looking at your bank account saying, I didn't get that pink slip, and I got this mortgage to pay, or I got this rent to pay, or I got
tuition.
Tuition, or them student loans now, right? And so it kind of sets in, and we begin to put the pressure starts to come on,
right?
And that prolonged pressure and overburdening of that workload, eventually it takes its toll,
right?
And so the other side of it, what causes burnout is burnout causes it reduces our productivity, as the definition said, but not only that, our energy. Our energy. And then we say, well, I'm gonna skip that workout. I'm not going to the HIIT class. Like,
right.
And then the energy is gonna be ding.
Right.
It's gonna be hit again. You wanna share anything about that?
I do, absolutely. That was a great example. Something that came to mind for me was our eating habits when we are experiencing burnout. I've got so much on my plate. So many other things that I'm worrying about, so many other things that I perceive to be more immediate that typically what takes the back burner is our physical activity, our sleep, our rest, as well as our eating habits. So I might eat something consecutively that's not good for me because I'm in French fries, hamburgers, pizza, Chick-fil-A
and
pizza,
them Chick-fil-a French fries,
Publix sub,
the big ones,
chicken finger,
with the ketchup, and then you put the
all that Chipotle, everything, because I'm in grind mode. How many times have you heard that? Or how many times have you guys said it? We've said it like, I'm just in grind mode. Right.
It's a point of pride.
Baby, if that's grind mode.
And when it's exertion, whether it's physical or mental, because sometimes people say, well, your job isn't as hard as mine. I've heard that said. People have said to me, your job isn't as hard as mine because mine isn't as physical. But I said physical or mental exertion. Either way, we're giving out energy. Everybody's job is hard because it requires attention and focus. And if we've been operating at a high level, as are all of you good people out there, if we're doing that over and over again for a long period of time, that's going to take a toll. And it's going to leave us feeling overwhelmed, hopeless, cynical. What's the use? What difference is it?
I've gotten this far, down the rabbit hole. I can't really see my way out. I haven't been working out this long during this period. I'm so far away of where I want to be. I don't even see a way to start. So forget it. Or y'all know what we typically say, right? Let's talk about some of the symptoms of burnout. Let's get some more understanding of kind of what burnout looks like. So I'll start. The first symptom that we want to talk about is lack of confidence in burnout. When you're depleted, confidence comes from your tank, right? Nobody is gonna, has to tell you. Nobody has to remind you. That's just in your tank, right?
You mean
and
I can't come up to you with the wand and say, boop, you got confidence.
It's in me, right? It's deep in me. But when we are depleted, when we are experiencing burnout, most of our tank, like you talked about in the car analogy, is we shaking. We don't really have anything to pull from. So there's a lack of confidence there, which also kind of bleeds over into feelings of self-doubt, because we are not performing at that high level anymore, because we are depleted, we're tired. We start to feel feelings of self-doubt, and kind of like the thoughts plus the feelings equal actions. My thoughts are, okay, I'm not performing the way I need to. I start to feel feelings of doubt. Therefore, my productivity, my output from that is most likely negative. It's compromised, which kind of reiterates those initial beliefs of, I'm not doing what I need to do, right? So we're experiencing feelings of self-doubt, decreased performance. We talked about that a little bit in all areas of your life. You might not be, we're talking about work, but you can be burnt out in other areas as well. You can be burnt out.
Church work? You volunteering at church?
I doubt you're just doing one thing.
Because 10% of the people do 90% of the work.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Church work, volunteering, parenting, right? Your marriage, you can be burnt out in your marriage. You've been putting a lot into that. You've been trying to be perfect, trying to make it right. All of those things, your friendships, your other relationships. There are so many areas that we can experience burnout, right? But once we got there, we start to realize that we're starting to show decreased performance in those areas. So you might not be so happy-go-lucky, right? In those, when you're meeting your friend for coffee, when you're showing up to church.
Okay, excellent point there.
Thank you. Increased number of mistakes. When you're burnt out, you start messing up, y'all. You start doing stuff you're not supposed to be doing. You start putting stuff somewhere, you're losing stuff, all kind of things.
Spelling is wrong in the report you got to turn in.
You're moving too fast.
The client is looking at it like, did an elementary student right there?
Absolutely.
You better be happy that I got it to you. By a deadline, but you can't say that because it's the client.
Absolutely.
Yeah, don't say that.
And then another big symptom of burnout, withdrawal behaviors. So
what does that
also,
look like?
That looks like unexpected no-shows, right? You say you're going to meet somebody for this, or you plan to have a conversation about this, and you're nowhere to be found, right? Or they're nowhere to be found. That's also, watch out for that. Notice it within yourself, but also because you have the knowledge and understanding, you can see it in other people. And I think that's a good plug. If you're experiencing any of these symptoms, we want to encourage you to reach out to a medical professional or a mental health professional or both, so that you can get the help that you need. So I thought that was important. And finally, procrastination. We don't think about that, do we? The inability to kind of prioritize and tackle kind of whether it seems big or it is a big expectation, whether it's for your job or something you got to do around the house. Procrastination is also a symptom of burnout. I thought that was important to know. You're tired. You don't necessarily see how you're going to be able to get this done. So you just kind of push it back.
Lauren, you did an amazing job with that. What we're wanting to do is to identify the symptoms of burnout, in large part to affirm and to validate what many of you that are watching are experiencing right now. Because sometimes you just need somebody to call out, what's going on? Like, because if you name it, you can tame it. But at the beginning, you just need somebody to acknowledge it or to validate that, that is real. Like, I'm experiencing that. And post-COVID, if we're honest, all of us are to some degree or another, because everything's gotten more expensive. Everything's gotten more, hectic. The pace is faster. The expectations have been increased. And so, what's a guy to do?
Right.
Well, first you got to understand what the symptoms are. So may I go through my list of the symptoms?
Totally.
Inability to focus or concentrate on tasks. Diminished satisfaction with your work relationships or your friendships or your relationship. It just don't look the way it used to look. And you're just frustrated or irritable, period. If you see those symptoms, you may be experiencing burnout. So,
absolutely. So we also wanted to share with you, Here's some other indicators that you might be on the road to burnout if every day is a bad day. If you're consecutively, we talk about this with our clients a lot, because we keep notes, or at least we try to keep really, 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 really detailed notes, so that when a client comes to us, we can share with them, you know, this is probably our fourth session
patterns
that you've shared that you are experiencing consecutive bad days.
Yes, patterns or
more bad days than good days. You may be experiencing, or you might be on the road to burnout.
Now, this is the understanding portion,
right?
Like if you want, when you get to the place of the knowledge, we've talked about the knowledge. Now, how does that apply? Well, here's the understanding. If you've had more bad days than good days consecutively, it's a pattern. You're not seeing progress, you're seeing a pattern.
Absolutely. Additionally, you might be on the road to burnout if caring about your work or home life seems like a total waste of energy. If you start to kind of get lackadaisical, like, I mean, it is what it is, it's going to be what it's going to be, that's a sign that you might be on the road to burnout. Just a level of indifference that is more apparent. And we're not talking about deliberately or intentionally choosing to go higher or to, you know, do what it is you feel like is best for you or what's best for your family, but just this level of indifference that you have could potentially be detrimental, not only to yourself, but in your relationships, your work relationships, all of those areas of your life.
Just notice it. That's the understanding that is setting in, and you don't want to leave relationships in the wake because you're burnt out. You want to get the help that you need so you can maintain those relationships, because it's our responsibility to notice, you know, when we're experiencing these things so we can get the help that we need. Nobody's going to do that for us. The Calvary isn't coming. We have to acknowledge those things in and of ourselves, or the people that love us. Maybe if they're not so burnt out, they'll be able to notice it. But ultimately, it'll be our responsibility to take care of ourselves and get the help that we need so we can get back on the good foot. And get to recovery.
And the good news is coming. You're exhausted all the time. We talked about that. And the majority of your day is spent on tasks you find either dull or overwhelming. That is a huge indicator that you might be experiencing burnout, and we'll talk about why when we get to the wisdom. So remember that. You feel like nothing you do makes a difference or is appreciated.
Wow.
That's a big one.
That is a big one. Maybe you're a mom and you're out there, or a dad, and you feel like they don't care. They just want that. They just want to make sure that I'm depositing that money in that account. And And it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't care, but if your thoughts are leaning that way, then you're going to feel overwhelmed and burned out, and you're going to some of these things that, the withdrawal is going to happen. And look, at a relationship could be left in the wake with a simple conversation of vulnerability. Just saying, hey, I feel like y'all don't care around here. And they could say, no, that's not the case at all. Everybody's doing their part.
That's good.
It's so important. It's so important.
And then finally, so the negative effects of burnout spill over into every area of life. We've talked about that. We're just reiterating: home, social life. Burnout can also cause long-term changes in the body that make you vulnerable and weak to illnesses like colds and flu. So another plug, if you are finding that you are getting sick more often than you typically do, means your immune system's probably compromised, which means that you might not be taking adequate care of yourself, which is another sign that you may be on the road to burnout.
Yes, ma'am.
Because of its consequences, it's really important to deal with burnout right away. And so we thought it was extremely important to implement the understanding related to burnout. So you can say, okay, that's me, that's me, that's me. Well, if this is you, let's talk about what you can do. Let's talk about the wisdom related to avoiding burnout.
So I'll start with wisdom, then I'm going to come to you to close this out. So we want to avoid burnout, and how do we do that? Self-care is the best care, good people. Self-care is the best care. Self-care is the best care. So when I'm doing my self-care, as we say all the time, that's more than getting your nails done and your hair done. That is really recognizing when you're experiencing these things emotionally, physically, spiritually even, right? and really just stepping back. And that just means you need ministry. That means you need some care and concern, and that you're going to give that to yourself. So that might mean a 10, 15-minute break 2 or 3 times a day, just to center yourself. Do a meditation. I have a morning routine and a sleep routine. Like my morning hygiene and my sleep hygiene are consistent. Yeah. And they're that way because my morning devotional spiritually as a Christian is very important to me. Yeah. It helps me to center my day and to start out in a way, because counselors, therapists, we are very high on the susceptibility our profession is for burnout. Yeah. Because vicarious trauma is very common in our field, and that just means experiencing other people's pain can become internalized for us and really
shape the way that we experience
it can.
As well.
Exactly. And so self-care is this. Recognize when you're not quite yourself. Take some time. If you have some, if you've got some time, if you've got some, you've amassed some time to take away from work and it's paid, just go on and take the time. What you going to do with it? Yeah. Right? Go on and take that 1 or 2 vacation days, half a vacation day. Yeah. Whatever you need to do to just step away and just to, go up to the mountains or go to the park. Be good to yourself. This is important because when you recognize that, if you do that, you can avoid the burnout. Lauren did a great job just a moment ago of just running that thing down. And we just want to give you permission to be good to yourselves. Yeah. It sounds cliche, but if you're not good to yourself, you're not going to be any good to anyone else. Wow. Okay? And you're worth it. And so we also wanted to offer a poem for your reading before we go. Another Loss to Stop For. It's by Jill Bialski. Against such cold and mercurial mornings, watch the wind whirl one leaf across the landscape, then in a breath let it go. The color in the opaque sky seems almost not to exist. Put on a wool sweater, wander in the leaves, underneath healthy elms. Hold your child in your arms. After the dishes are washed, a kiss still warm on your neck. Put down your pen, turn out the light. I know how difficult it is, always balancing and weighing. It takes years and many transformations, and always another loss to stop for, to send you backwards. Why do you worry so when none of us is spared? Life is going to life. We will experience loss. We will experience stress. All of us experience stress in different ways. That's why it's so important to take those moments to just steal away and remember what's important. That is the wisdom that I have to offer for us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I really enjoyed that poem.
You're welcome.
I think the wisdom that I would offer today is just the piece about vulnerability. We want to offer the language to you if you're not sure how to open up to share that you are just dealing with some things right now and you might need the people around you to be patient with you or to even help you. The first step is to be vulnerable with yourself. Yeah. And so if you recognize that you're experiencing some of the things that we've talked about on this episode today, acknowledging it is number 1. And then number 2, it might look like you say, hey, I've taken some time. I realize that I'm experiencing something called burnout. I'm about to implement this new, time that I take for myself in the morning. When I wake up, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go meditate, or I'm going to go sit outside and drink my tea before I get the kids up or before I whatever. I just wanted to share that with you. Just so you're not alarmed. And I'd ask for your support.
That's good.
Whatever, that's an example as to how you can not only be vulnerable with yourself, but be vulnerable with the people around you so that they can assist you on your road to healing and wellness. So that's the wisdom that I wanted to offer today. We hope that this helped you guys.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming again.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, Most importantly, subscribe, y'all. We on the road to 100. Okay, I'm so excited when we look back and we're like, remember when we really wanted 100 subscribers? Yes. We're living in the present moment, and we're excited about. We're so thankful to all of you who have subscribed. Please share if this helped. And yeah, that's all we got. Y'all take care.
Love y'all. Peace.
This episode should not be used as a substitute for medical or mental health advice. Individuals are advised to seek independent medical advice, counseling, and/or therapy from a healthcare professional with respect to any medical condition, mental health issue, or health inquiry, including matters discussed on this episode.